Vietnam, January 1967. The US and its allies have dropped more airdropped bombs on this region than they did on Germany and Japan combined during World War II, but the Viet Cong guerrillas are safe. Hidden beneath the dot ground is an underground passage network that spans over 100 kilometers. At the entrance is operative Tommy Rivera. His covert mission is to avoid the deadly booby traps and enemy fighters locate the operations room and gather intel to stop the Viet Cong guerrillas' next major attack. If he fails, hundreds of American fighters will die. Tommy climbs into the underground passage, covers the concealed hatch with leaves, and closes himself inside, with a casualty rate of over 30%. Most underground passage infiltrators don't survive their second covert mission. Tommy is equipped with the standard issue M1911, but in these underground passages, it's more of a liability than a weapon. A single-fired shot could alert the enemy. Instead, he trusts his father's old World War II combat knife. Quiet, reliable, and deadly in close combat. Tommy doesn't know it yet. Although he is getting very close to the first chamber based on Tommy's previous missions, he is expecting a similar layer. Connecting to the entrance, there are 3 levels of underground passages. Tommy is in the first level. The entrance is where the Viet Cong guerrillas can quickly hide away in case they are being attacked. The deeper he goes, the closer he gets to the main living and operations hub. This includes hospitals, sleeping chambers, and his target, the Central Command Hub. At the very bottom is the Viet Cong guerrillas' safest area, built for emergency situations. Bomb shelters, evacuation, underground passages, interrogation rooms, and water wells. Tommy creeps forward, taking short, shallow breaths to keep as silent as possible. His nose picks up a faint smell of rusty metal. First room is near. Suddenly, he spots something ahead. A thin bamboo trigger. Above in the ceiling is a small camouflage panel. Something's moving behind it. Its heart races. Vietnam. Pit vipers. Each underground passage system can hold more than 50 unique deadly booby traps. Some explode, some inhale, some release toxic gas. This one is designed to cause organ failure and internal bleeding from the venom. If Tommy touches the bamboo, it will send a signal by pulling out the toggle, causing the wooden panel above his head swing open. The snakes be released. Most fighters turn back when they see what lies ahead, but Tommy can't. Thousands of lives depend on him finding the Viet Cong guerrillas' attack plans. He grips the dirt and starts to move. One elbow forward and the next. He slides above the trigger. 3.2. He's clear, but these deadly booby traps only get more deadly the deeper he goes. This is just the beginning. The more Tommy crawls, the stronger the smell becomes. The narrow dirt underground passage curves slightly to the left, then opens. He's reached the first chamber, just 4 feet wide and 5 feet tall. This cramped design is not by accident. Vehicle fighters averaged just 5 feet 3 inches tall, while American fighters stood around 5'9". That height difference made it nearly impossible for most Americans to fit inside, but standing at 5'1", Tommy is perfect. Low, wooden crates, stacked against the wall, holding ammunition, medical gear, and rice storage, was frequently placed near the entrances, allowing the Viet Cong guerrillas to restock or retreat faster during engagement. Listen for a moment to hear if anyone might be nearby. Silence. Tommy pushes forward. The soil down here contains high levels of clay and iron. When it dries, it develops concrete-like properties, stopping the underground passage from collapsing. However, while it's raining, there's still a risk. After several more minutes of crawling, it reaches the entrance. This chamber is larger. The far end is a shallow pit. It's a wangcom stove. This is where they cook. Unlike the Americans, who had supply chains stretching from aircraft carriers to jungle outpost, the Viet Cong guerrillas had to scavenge, order, or steal their food. To cook and breathe, they built ventilation shafts from the underground passage ceilings. 2. The jungle floor, disguising them as termite mounts. But cooking releases smoke. If the Americans saw it rising from the ground, their location would be compromised. Stay hidden. They only cook meals during the morning or when it's raining, so the natural fog would hide it. Tommy squats down. A few pieces of rice still cling to crusted pot. The embers are still warm. Someone was just here. This pulse quickens. Back home on the news, Tommy constantly heard about America's success, high body counts, and tactical victories. When he arrived in Vietnam, the reality felt completely different. Everything seems stuck, with no real progress. That's because He had only been told one side of the story. The kind of bias you won't fall for if you read ground news. They pull data from over 50,000 sources worldwide, letting you see how different outlets frame the same story, so you can compare perspectives, form your own opinion. In Taiwan, news broke that the country is updating its air raid protocols, drawing lessons from Ukraine and Israel to protect civilians in the event of a Chinese invasion. Over 20 outlets have covered the story, with coverage split evenly across the political spectrum. But side by side, the contrast is clear. The left-leaning headline focuses simply on what Taiwan can learn from Israel, while the right-leaning one digs into how the new protocols will be implemented with its citizens. If you want to take back control, see what everyone else can. Ground News is giving you the tools. Right now they have a huge 40% off the unlimited access Vantage plan, but the sale's ending soon. So go to ground.news/atrium or scan the QR code before it goes. The enemy is nearby. There is no time to waste. Tommy hopes that this next room will be the central command hub so he can get back to base and sit by the warm fire. He keeps crawling, then the ground begins to slope downward. He pauses, he knows exactly what that means. He's entering level 2. The deepest levels are where the real secrets are hidden. Surgery, bays, weapons, workshops, supply caches, and his target the central command hub. The air becomes thicker, sterile, in a way that's unnatural for an underground passage. Then he hears it movement, soft and muffled. Tommy freezes. The sound echoes faintly down a underground passage to his right, shuffling, a whisper of voices too quiet to make out. They don't know he's here. Tommy clutches his combat knife. He waits and listens intensely, but the sound starts to fade. False alarm. As he approaches the next room, he sees a glow of light. A bed is pressed against the wall next to it. A stack of blood-stained bandages and scissors. Glass jars lined along a dugout shelf. In the corner is a bicycle-powered generator. This is a quiet way to generate electricity to light this hospital room during surgery and charge their radio equipment, only found in the more developed systems. A faint tapping sound echoes through the chamber. Tommy goes still. He knows that sound they're digging. At the start of the war, the Viet Cong guerrillas would dig during the day, making it easier for Americans to locate them. However, now they only do it while raining, or at night when the jungle sounds overpower their own. Others will be nearby, hauling dirt and baskets up to the surface, every handfuls carried far from the underground passages, scattered across fields, buried in bomb craters or dumps into rivers. The surface will be crawling with Viet Cong guerrillas. Tommy hopes the rain stops soon. Otherwise, his exfiltration just got a lot harder. Still, not all news is bad. Medical rooms, like this one, are almost always placed on the second level. The same level as the central command hub. He's close. Very close. The underground passage tightens again. Tommy claws forward, the walls pressing in, his nails scratching in the dirt until the path opens. He stops. This isn't a storage room, something else. He tries to see what's inside, but it's too dark. He knows using his flashlight could expose him, but staying blind could take down him. He has no choice. He flicks it on. What he sees makes his blood run cold. It's the trapper. Most designs weren't meant to take down. They were made for one purpose only, to make fighters like Tommy hesitate, to make them afraid of the floor, the walls, everything. 11% of combat deaths are caused by the tens of thousands of deadly booby traps deployed by the Viet Cong guerrillas fighters. In the corner, a pile of bamboo each stake sharpened to a deadly point. Tommy remembers the last time he saw one above ground. A fellow fighter stepped on a false floor. The screen was brief. The pit was full of spikes. Sometimes the tips are even smeared with feces. Not to take down instantly, but to infect, to rot from within. Returns. In another area, a stack of 10 cans. But it's not harmless junk. Inside are grenades rigged with tripwires. Pull the wire, the pin yanks free. Boom. Through decades of fighting off foreign powers, the Vietnamese have learned to use the land to take down any invader. With a reminder of death, Tommy cuts his light and presses forward into the dark. He hears a faint sound and freezes. It's coming from ahead, where the underground passage forks. On his left is a subtle echo of voices. Be it calm at least. To maybe more to his right, silence. Tommy knows what silence can mean down here. A dead end, or worse, a trap. His heart thuds. The left underground passage could put him face to face with the enemy. The right could be a trap, ending his life in the covert mission. He waits motionless, counting his breaths. The voices grow clearer, calm, casual to calm. That's what scares him. He shifts his body toward the right. Underground passage. Elbows dragging through the dirt. Hips twisting. Each breath he takes could be his last. No wire, no pressure plate, not yet. 5 feet in, still nothing. Then the underground passage opens slightly, just enough for him to kneel. He is safe for now. It's the second time luck is on Tommy's side. Deep down he knows it won't last forever. And that's when he sees it. Ahead, lit by only the faintest glow from a lantern, is a large room. Reinforced the timber. Large maps penned to the wall. Chalk markings. Folded documents. This isn't another survival chamber. This is his target, the central command hub. Tommy scans the area. There's no one inside. He moves in silent and low. A crew table at the center holds an unfolded engagement map. A red line stretches west toward Saigon. Circles. Notes, arrows, targets. Highly classified materials. Somehow, the Viet Cong guerrillas have secured info about an upcoming offensive. This was more than just the attack plans he came for. When Tommy left the camp, they were preparing for this very operation, including some of his closest friends. He spoke with quiet hope. Final push that could end the war in weeks, but now he realizes none of them knew the truth. It wasn't a breakthrough at all, it was an deadly ambush. If command sees this, they can call off the advance and change course. This isn't just another covert mission, it's personal. Failing to get back to the base doesn't just mean helping to defend their base, it means saving his entire platoon from a certain death. Tommy hears noises again. Closer now. The longer he spends in here, the more likely he is to be caught. He needs to find the military base attack document. He looks over to see some rolled up papers, without enough time to look inside. He straps them under his belt. Now he has another problem to worry about. How does he get out of here? As Tommy turns to crawl back the way he came, he hears shuffling close. Tommy grabs his combat knife, back pressed against the wall. He won't use the sidearm, as it will alert the entire underground passage system, making his exfiltration so much harder. The shuffling grows louder as the vehicle fighter's head enters the room. Tommy strikes. The man collapses. Tommy doesn't move. He listens in case anyone has been alerted. It's a young Viet Cong guerrillas fighter. He flips the body over quickly, patting down his fast. A combat knife, loose ammo, some rice wrapped in a banana leaf. A picture of the fighter and his family. He can't be much older than 16, although that was a couple of years ago. Now, so much has changed since then. Many of the vehicle fighters started young, raised in the dark, trained underground, pardoned by a war that offers no childhood. At this point, nearly 400,000 dead. Many of them are civilians. Nobody down here really wants to fight. I just don't have a choice. Tommy finds something else, a folded piece of paper, wrapped in plastic to keep it dry. A hand-drawn engagement map showing a rough outline of the underground passage system. He identifies his location, then another symbol near the way out, closer to the surface. With limited Vietnamese, he makes out the word captured comrade. If someone's still alive down here, you can't leave them to die. Out here, the Americans have a code: no man gets left behind. Still, it could easily be a trap. The Viet Cong guerrillas often turn this against them, turning captured comrades into bait. Tommy tucks the engagement map into his chest pocket, grabs the Viet Cong's body, and hides it in the corner of the room. The covert mission just got much more complicated. In less than 10 minutes, someone will find the body. And when they do, Tommy will still be in the underground passages. If he's going to free this captured comrade, Tommy's going to need to fight guided by the engagement map he takes. A hard turn down the new passage, the air grows colder. The floor angles sharply downward. His knees scrape and boots slip. The underground passage continues to twist deeper into the earth than anything he's ever encountered. Whoever this captured comrade is, it must be important. No one gets buried this deep without a reason. As Tommy rounds the last bend, he hears something. Not voices, not footsteps, but breathing. That's when he feels his elbow hit a string. This pulls a cord directly attached to a pen. He closes his eyes. This could be the end. A piece of string with metal scraps is attached, which is propelled toward a metal bell, making a loud clank. At single quotes s a noise trap. His heart pounds. They know. Tommy exits the underground passage into the room. A figure hangs from a bamboo pole lashed into the wall. An American. The fighter's uniform is shredded, blood on his face. He lifts his head weakly when he sees Tommy, but doesn't react. He's too dehydrated and malnourished, but alive. Tommy moves in and quickly pulls the gang loose. Don't speak, whispers. You're gonna be okay, but we need to leave now. He draws his combat knife and slices the rope and lowers him down. The fighter winces but doesn't cry out he's lying. Tommy stops. Tommy checks the engagement map again. There's an exit nearby, up above the Kong fighters. We'll know. They will be looking for the fastest way out, and will be planning to intercept them. They know too much to be allowed to exfiltration alive. Tommy tells the fighter to stay close. He puts the engagement map away, hides his grip on his combat knife, and starts to climb toward the surface. The extraction fighter stumbles behind him, barely able to keep pace. Tommy keeps an ear on the underground passage behind them. No sound yet, but it's coming every corner they turn, every shaft they crawl through. Tommy expects movement, a voice. A fired shot turns around and helps pull the fighter up a steep incline. Light leaks faintly from above an exit behind them as a voice shouting they've been spotted. Tommy doesn't wait, he pulls the fighter harder and pushes forward up the slope, toward a narrow beam of light, then gunfire. Bullets ricochet against the walls. Dirt sprays behind his head. Another fired shot, he reaches the top. A bamboo hatch, he reaches out to open it. Locked. He slams his shoulder into it once, twice. It cracks, sunlight floods in there, not safe. Yet he grabs the fighter under the arm. They start running. No clear direction, no cover. Just raw instinct in the will to survive. Behind them, Viet Cong guerrillas, fighters spill out from the bamboo hatch. Weapons raised. Gunfire rounds crackle through the trees. Tommy doesn't want back. Branches slice their faces. Every step is a gamble, but every step is further from danger. Glances up, smoke trails in the far distance, a campfire, a signal hope. It might just be okay. The war in Vietnam stands as one of the most brutal, and arguably most pointless conflicts in modern history, lasting over 19 years. The suffering it unleashed was huge, killing an estimated 5 million human lives from America, Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. Within war stories we find unsung heroes like Operative Tommy Rivera. But a deeper question must be asked. What exactly is the hero fighting for? Throughout history, information has convinced us that unsung heroes fight for their country and their people. Too often they're fighting for something else entirely. A political war machine where corporations profit by selling weapons to governments under the disguise of nationalist fervor. By 1968.54% of Americans believe the war in Vietnam was a mistake, yet dragged on for another 7 years. It's not just history, it's a pattern. The next time you see a war taking place, take a moment to think, is this war everything it's claimed to be? Beneath the canopy, the underground passages were a living organism, breathing with whispered orders, rationed breaths, and the constant dread of discovery. Every inch forward in that darkness was a negotiation with fear, a wager against hidden wires, drop floors, and the sudden snap of a trigger that could end everything. For Operative Tommy, silence was both shield and threat, a cloak that hid him from hostile eyes, yet amplified each heartbeat until it felt loud enough to betray him.